This is the iPhone 16 Pro. So like every year, the updates with this iPhone are quite minimal. Probably the biggest update is a software one, which is the addition of Apple Intelligence, which also comes with the iPhone 15 Pro with the next update. Obviously, with the unboxing experience, it's the same thing with every other iPhone in the past few years. One thing I'm sure you've probably heard of is the addition of a new button called Camera Control. And having said that, one of the biggest updates as well with this iPhone, a big focus for them was the camera app and the whole camera system, the cameras themselves. Obviously in the box you get the iPhone at the top, and then right underneath that you get your USB-C to USB-C cable. It's nice, braided, high quality, so it shouldn't be those cables that start snapping towards the end after a bit of time. And then obviously you get that little information leaflet thing, but no Apple stickers this year. Anyway, looking at the build, you're getting the typical glass on the front, glass on the back, titanium frame, but it's matted, it's not shiny. So less fingerprints, but personally I think that shiny frame looked a little bit more premium. And then fun fact, because of the smaller bezels on the screen, now within the same body it's gone from a 6.1 inch display to a 6.3 inch display, so now it's slightly larger. But the body of the phone has remained the same. In the hand, it feels like every iPhone ever. It is slightly heavier than last year, coming in at 199 grams, whereas last year was 187. And interesting fact, it comes shipped with iOS 18.0 rather than iOS 18.1, and iOS 18.1 is the one with Apple Intelligence in it, which Apple spent a very long time talking about in relation to this iPhone at their event. So it's kind of weird, kind of interesting that it doesn't come shipped with it in the box. Just like last year, we've got that new action button, which you can map to anything. And then, like I mentioned earlier, this new camera control button, which is kind of slightly like a little bit of a trackpad on the side of the phone. It responds to touch. It's got a little bit of haptic feedback, as well as being an actual physical button. But I'll get more into that in a second. Now, in terms of the internals, this iPhone is powered by the Apple A18 Pro chip, which is a 3nm chip and offers a 15%, according to Apple, faster CPU and improved efficiency in comparison to last year's A17 Pro, which is what powered the iPhone 15 Pro. Other internal information, there is a slight improvement in battery life according to Apple, and it is a slightly larger battery. Typically Apple's batteries in terms of milliamp hours are a lot smaller than other companies, but because of the way that their chips process and manage the phone, it manages to compete with much larger batteries in Android phones. So this iPhone has a 3582 mAh battery in comparison to last year's 3274 mAh battery. But in terms of actually testing that and seeing how much longer it lasts, that will be in my long-term review. Now there's basically one more big or somewhat big change done with this iPhone, and that's basically the camera system. That includes the physical cameras, that includes some software changes, that also includes obviously that camera control button, which is a new button on the bottom right side of the phone. In terms of the positioning of that button, it is quite well placed if you're taking photos or videos in landscape, quite natural positioning, but if you're taking photos or videos in the upright portrait angle, then it's quite an awkward position, but you probably wouldn't be using the button then anyway. In terms of what this button actually does and how it works, basically you press it once to open up the camera app, and then you can kind of do a half press in which it gives you haptic feedback, a little bit like a trackpad, and it will come up with something like zoom, in which you can slide your fingers across the button because it has touch sensitivity to it, and you can zoom in. But if you do a double press with the haptic part of the button, then you have options to choose between different things like zoom, depth, exposure, different camera styles, different camera tones, and you can select them and then slide through them by sliding your finger across the top of the button. In terms of the way this button is engineered, it's done very well, but I think a big question is, firstly, how many people would even really consider using it? And of those people, will they actually use it? Like, is it actually useful? I can say though, it does allow for a very smooth zooming in and out, which if you're trying to take somewhat like professional level videos using this camera, then it could be quite useful, as it is quite a convenient and quick and comfortable way to control certain settings within the camera app if you're using the phone in landscape. Something else about this camera control button is that third-party apps will be able to use this camera control button and incorporate it within their app as long as it's a camera-related app. In terms of other changes in relation to the camera, they've upgraded the ultra-wide camera from a 12 megapixel camera to a 48 megapixel camera, just like the main lens. Additionally, something that I think is very impressive is the fact that it can now record 4K video at 120 frames per second, so you're getting good quality slow-mo at 4K video quality. In relation to video recordings and that sort of stuff, this iPhone does feature 4 studio quality microphones that's meant to be used for improved audio recording and support for spatial audio. There's different audio mixes that you can choose from, one being standard, one being in frame, so it only captures the voices of the people on the camera, even if people off camera are talking. There's studio version, which aims to try and make it sound like you're recording in a professional studio equipped with proper sound gear. And then there's cinematic mode, which captures all of the voices around you and consolidates them towards the front of the screen like movies. In terms of how well this is pulled off and how well this is done, I haven't tested it yet, but that will all be in the full review. Now, other than that, kind of the final new thing to talk about in relation to this iPhone is Apple Intelligence. But then again, I do have to say, Apple Intelligence is also coming to the iPhone 15 Pro, so just keep that in mind. But anyway, having said that, what is Apple Intelligence and why is it such a big deal? Well, essentially, to kind of summarize into one sentence, Apple Intelligence is Apple introducing AI on a large scale level as a big way of how you interact with and use your iPhone. This is an AI that on some level kind of gets to know you a little bit, has access to all your information, and knows the ins and outs of your iPhone and the information on it, and for that reason can make life easier and more convenient to navigate on the iPhone. Obviously that's quite a vague thing for me to say, but in terms of examples of what it does and how it would affect you as a user, first, kind of like a basic example, you got features such as writing tools, so it can allow you to write a more friendly email, something more professional, keep things concise, it can summarize things, find key points, create tables, lists, all of that sort of stuff, just using AI to really help you assist with that. But then when it comes to kind of more personalized things, there's features such as priority notifications, where it's able to kind of highlight the time-sensitive emails, reminders, messages, and kind of keep them prioritized and to the top of your notifications so that you don't miss them. So say an invite that has sort of a deadline for that day or the day after, or there's a meeting tomorrow, it kind of just keeps you reminded that that's going to happen. And it can draw from your messages for this, it can draw from your emails, and just from anywhere on the phone, probably even from your photos. And because it's able to draw on your personal context, say you want to find, for example, your passport number, all you have to do is ask Apple Intelligence for your passport number, and since you may have a photo of your passport in your photos, it will know which one that is and be able to extract the passport number and give it to you straight away. Another cool example of how it could kind of draw from your context is, say you want to know what time your mum's flight is landing in, because it can look at your messages and your emails and any sort of contact you've had with anybody else or any companies or anything. It's able to identify who your mum is and what time their flight is landing in based on any sorts of information on your phone, such as a text message where your mum told you that she's going to land in at this time or whatever. It also introduces features like summarizing long emails. By just pressing one button, you see a summary to a certain email because maybe it's such a long email and you kind of want to see the main point of it. It can also record your calls and summarize the transcript of the call, so summarizing kind of the gist of this call with this person and what happened in that call. And those are just like a small handful of examples of how Apple Intelligence works. And in terms of privacy, which may be a concern for some people, they make a massive point of the fact that this is all happening on the device. So all this personal context stuff that you may not want to go to Apple even, this is all being processed on the device without leaving your actual phone. Something also I found quite interesting is they've kind of collaborated Apple Intelligence with ChatGPT. So if you ask Apple Intelligence for something or a task or whatever that Apple Intelligence itself is not capable of, it will redirect you through Apple Intelligence directly to ChatGPT, and it will tell you at the same time, it will tell you that it's getting this information from ChatGPT rather than giving it to you itself. But the whole idea is it's kind of seamlessly integrating this AI into a very core and easily accessible feature of the phone. Anyway, that's basically it for the first impressions and unboxing for this phone for this video. But obviously the next video coming out soon will be the full review, in which I kind of go into everything a lot deeper in terms of my actual experience rather than just kind of listing the things it's capable of. And then I'll get to tell you more about things like battery life and so forth. But anyway, other than that, I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and give this video a like and comment for the sake of the algorithm. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Salam.